Deborah?
Hi, Kathy. We're having trouble. We're not getting any audio. We can see you, but not hear you. Hi, Brandon.
Is anyone else able to?
Now it's fixed. Thank you.
That was strange. We can move to public remarks.
So I guess you could just reiterate that you're open, you have your public hearing open for the two ordinance amendments.
I have the public hearing open for our two ordinances, 278 and 18. Anybody have any comments they'd like to bring?
Deborah, did you want to speak on that or no?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Seeing none, then I'll close that part. Presentations, Mr. Cox, we have none.
You have no presentations this evening.
Bids and contracts, we have none.
Correct, none.
Public remarks.
We did.
You did. Huh?
Yeah. Keep up. Okay, resolutions, ordinance, policies, and proclamations.
I move that we approve amendment to chapter 278, the taxation of code of East, town of East Hampton regarding modification of tax relief programs.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Have that, and we need to do a second one, I believe.
Yes, I move that we approve the amendment to chapter 18, Commission on Aging of the Code of Town of East Hampton regarding adding alternate members, and I believe that's 2.
All right, we have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Guys have it. All right, do we have any, do I need to close that, David, technically?
No, you're all done there. You can go ahead and move to your
Okay.
next order of business.
Do we have any subcommittee reports?
I'll just add a few things. The middle school roof committee did meet. We reviewed and accepted the plans that were presented to us. Those plans were previously approved by the Board of Education the night before. And it's my understanding those plans are now at the Department of Administrative Services, and they are being reviewed. And once they are reviewed, they will invite a team to meet with them. And once they're approved, then we will be able to go out to bid.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, close that question. Actually, we have Allison, we have the gazebo project report.
Yes, last week, the Department of Public Works dug up all the old plants that were overgrown and also installed topsoil around the gazebo, which was donated kindly by Paul and Sandy's. It was all raked out. It's beautiful. The garden has actually had a demarcation around it where Parks and Rec is going to put some mulch down. The garden club is purchasing some window box type structures, which will house annuals until the planting is actually done later this summer. They have a plan. They have a design, a landscape designer coming in, and the plan should be ready in 2 weeks, and I'll bring it back so you can view it.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's gonna
That's
be
great.
very nice.
It is. We have our gazebo concerts. This will be one day.
Red, white, and blue flowers.
Yeah, that's even better. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
New business. Review possible action and amendment to the library collection policy. I believe,
Yep, I'll invite Tim Kellogg, the library director, up.
thank you.
Made it by the skin of his teeth tonight.
Traffic on Tim?
Thank you. Yeah, something like that, more like Uber, but, thank you for having me here tonight. What you have before you for your review and hopeful approval is an update to the library's collection policy. Over the course of the last year, we've received more frequent than was maybe once the case, requests to add works by local contributors, as it's much easier to self-publish these days than it used to be. And our collection policy as it's existed, though very sound by all library standards, would more or less prohibit that because most local content hasn't been through formal review processes, nor in many cases has it been professionally edited. So the update to the policy in front of you has a special collections provision which would permit library staff to make those decisions on a case-by-case basis. Any questions?
So you would have to read the published material and then make a judgment based on whom?
Generally, anytime an item is specially donated or contributed to the library, it goes through a review process. And if it doesn't meet the selection criteria outlined in the rest of the policy before you, then it doesn't get included. If it does, it does. And it's pretty much that simple. But in this case, most local author works have not been professionally reviewed or published or edited. And so that usually disqualifies them. But we don't want to do that because you want to celebrate your local authors and artists. So this update would allow that to be possible.
Does the book get read though? Material?
Not necessarily the whole thing, usually portions of it. Depends on the length of the book. If it's a short children's book, maybe, but if it's an entire, novel.
And then who judges where the literature would be placed? If it's appropriate or not for children within a certain age or what?
So I'm glad you asked that. For most materials, they are age designated, but in this case, the staff has been working on preparing a local creators section within the library. So all local creation works, whether books or movies or whatever, would be in the same location.
Mr. Cox kind of brought up a good point. Like, is there some type of disclaimer for the local section that's not fully reviewed that like, if there is something that's in this work, right, it has not been reviewed, we're not trying, I mean, like, because we
Yeah.
see things get by, like newspapers, like things slip, right? It
Right.
happens, right? So it's like, I definitely get, right? You have local authors who want to share it out, but now he kind of
Mhm.
just gave me that little thought, like,
So
a disclaimer wouldn't be the worst thing.
It would say that they are local works, which is typically an indicator of those points that it hasn't gone through, a professional publication process. In most cases, local authors haven't. Every once in a while, you do get some that have, but in most cases, they haven't.
I think we can make sure that that's the case. People are aware that they may not have been entirely vetted.
Right, like. Especially if you don't review it, don't promote it, that type of thing, like
Sure.
that. Okay, perfect. Okay, questions?
Any other questions? No. All good. All right, somebody like to make a motion to amend the library collection policy as presented.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the amendment to the library collection policy as presented.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna bring Mr. Cox up for the town manager's report. Maybe you can make it a little bit long tonight.
I can?
Yeah.
Do I need to stretch? Is that what you're telling me? So I just want to highlight three things this evening. One, my fellow sewer customers in town should be reminded that those second installments are due here by the end of the month. So make sure that by the 28th, you come visit us and make your second payment. I also want to give an update regarding the police vehicle. In my report, I talked about the fact that we knew that there was a VIN number and that we ought to be seeing that soon. And then our vendor said, not so fast. We found out just this week that our vendor, remember we buy these off of state contract, Ford goes through the process with the state to make the acquisition or to make the pricing available. We use a vendor in state for acquiring the vehicle and making the order and all of the activities related to the purchase. We found out from that vendor this week that the information that the chief of police had been provided last week was incorrect. And therefore my report is incorrect. We thought we had a VIN number and we thought we would be getting a delivery in the next several weeks. That is not the case. There was a mistake made at the vendor and between the vendor and Ford. And right now the status of our truck is unknown. We've gotten more information about the whole auto manufacturing process and the fact that Ford has probably accepted more orders than they can produce. And in the last several years, they have done the same thing and have begun canceling municipal orders for these vehicles. So we don't know yet whether our vehicle is being built or whether it will get canceled. But we're advised that our vendor is looking into that and trying to find out. They're also exploring whether they can acquire for us another police-built truck that either was a spare or assigned to someone else and get it reassigned to us. But fundamentally, chaos in the automotive industry still exists. Getting our vehicle was ordered. The order window for those vehicles opened in August of last year. And we're now finding out that we don't know when we'll get it. We may not get it at all. And a new order window for these same vehicles might not open until October of this year. That's the truck. The other vehicles we get are SUVs. We have been advised on SUVs that time frame is maybe as much as 30 weeks now. So there's a long lead time on getting vehicles, which makes planning, of course, difficult. But I wanted to make sure that the community knew and that the council knew that we had some bad news on that truck front. We know that there is interest in that. Certainly, we want to get that on the street and in service. So the last thing I'll mention this evening is that this is the last time you'll see Tim Kellogg. All of you know that Tim has been poached. Keep saying that. Tim was poached from us and is going to take a new position elsewhere in the state. It's a good move for him and his family, so I can't argue that. But Tim will be leaving his post at the end of the day on April 24th. So I thank him for the service he did give us. He certainly served us well in these last several months, almost a year. Cannot argue. I think staff really liked it. So that position is now being advertised. Here in the next couple of weeks, we have hopefully we'll have a few good folks that we can interview, and hopefully we won't have too long of a gap. So I just want to say publicly thank you to Tim for, like I said, his service to us, and I'm appreciative of that time.
Thank you.
Those are my comments. Of course, the rest of it is in writing if anyone wants to read it.
I put it in the library.
Put it in the library, right? Special collection.
Water. Have we heard from them?
Yes, the last thing I got from them is they last week pulled some information, or last week or the week before, pulled some final information from the water department here, basically consumption records and things of that sort. I think they're doing the last check of their hydraulic model, which they have finished. remember, that was the next step. They were going to cite all of the facilities based on the last committee meeting, and that work is done, and I think they're just doing the final check on actual consumption by residents of East Hampton.
Mr. Cox, I have one quick question. We talked about maybe reclaiming some sand at Sears Park, but did we ever do any of this?
We did that, yes.
Okay,
That work was done over the winter. We reclaimed sand from both in front of Sears Park and in front of the neighboring properties to the south. Yes, to the south
Okay.
of Sears Park. That was, to be honest with you, I don't know whether it's been spread, but it was staged on the beach itself. I suspect if we haven't, we're all gonna be spreading it awfully soon because we're gonna have an 80-degree weekend here.
right.
Coming up pretty fast, so, but that's what we did, yeah, we did pull sand back up onto the beach and we'll get that spread out.
Right, thank you. Appointments, we have none,
That is true.
and tax refunds.
I move that we approve the tax refunds for the total of $1,591.66.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We have it. All right, we're back to public remarks. Seems to have a hand up, Kathy. Marty and the chief. Yes, Mr.
I would just like to formally say thank you for your remarks and for the time that I've been able to serve here. It has been an absolute pleasure to work with this town and for this library.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you've done. Thank you. And my audience here, nothing?
No.
We'll move on. Communications, correspondence, and announcements.
Other than your commission summary, I don't have anything else for you this evening.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Nobody's opposed, nobody wants to stay a little longer?
Very good job.
Very, very